The fifth issue of Justice League vs. Godzilla vs. Kong really raised the stakes with some serious developments. So, Superman has been down since the first issue, Shazam was missing from the battle, Ra's al Ghul's assassins were dead set on a seriously ambitious and quite dangerous mission, Aquaman was about to release the Kraken, and Lex Luthor was collaborating with Mercy Graves to activate the Mechagodzilla. Now, in issue 5, many of these subplots see immense developments. We also learn why Godzilla basically hates the DC superheroes and what would happen in a fight between Godzilla and the Kraken. As the penultimate issue of the 6-issue miniseries, this issue was a super thrill ride. So, without further ado, let's dive deep into the story and explore what's up in the battle between heroes, villains, and titans. But before we do that, we have a small request. If you enjoy our content, please give this video a massive thumbs up, share it with your friends, and smash that subscribe button with the notification bell turned to all while you're at it. It helps us create the content that you love and bring in more marvelous viewers like you. Now, on to the video. Why does Big G hate the DC superheroes? The 5th issue begins with Lois Lane contacting Mercy Graves for intel on the monsters. You see, Superman was down, probably for good, and the other metahumans were heavily overpowered by the monsters, especially Godzilla. Additionally, the metahumans had little to no idea who or what these monsters were. I mean, Lois even refers to Godzilla as the dinosaur monster. I demand some atomic breath for such disrespect shown to the king of monsters. Oh, and Mercy Graves was working with Lex Luthor to execute his plans of bringing to life a Godzilla-like robot monster. Any guesses? Well, yes, his plan was to deliver Mechagodzilla to his Earth. Anyway, Lois seeks Mercy's help, but why would a villain help a hero? Mercy tells Lois that the heroes should instead look for the Dreamstone, which was stolen from the Fortress of Solitude and was ultimately used to bring the monsters to this Earth. But Lois already knew this and demanded, rather requested, more information. Mercy had interfered even before on occasions when Lex had gone off the rails, and that's what Lois was demanding now. But Mercy makes it clear that the monsters were Toyman's doing and not Lex's. Yet, she understood this threat was bigger than anything villainous that Mercy could do or even imagine. The fate of the world was at stake. Why? Well, it seemed that Godzilla hated the metahumans and the Justice League. Mercy explains that Godzilla was not a mindless beast. In fact, he had a purpose to maintain the balance of nature and eliminate every element that would seek to threaten this balance, which is why Godzilla once killed King Ghidorah. So yes, that answers our question. You see, Godzilla saw the superhumans as something of an anomaly, a threat to nature's balance. Hence, he sought to destroy the heroes. I wonder what he'd do if he ever met Darkseid. Anyway, Mercy had managed to access Monarch files on the Titans from the Earth of Monsterverse. She promised to send those to Lois, but refused to divulge any other information. Meanwhile, Kara, aka Supergirl, came to see how Superman was doing, but he was in pretty bad shape. When Lois asked if Superman was already dead, Kara told her that he was not dead yet, but life was slowly fleeting away from his body. Did Godzilla just fight the mighty Kraken? In the last issue, Green Lantern, Flash, and Wonder Woman found out that Tiamat, the squid-like titan, was heading towards the Dome of Atlantis in order to breach it. If that happened, the hundreds of thousands of pounds of pressure would immediately annihilate the underwater city, killing all its people. Also, in issue 4, Queen Mera and Aquaman reach the spot. But when Tiamat ignites an electrical storm, Godzilla also arrives in order to stop Tiamat from wreaking further havoc. Unfortunately, things were not looking good for Atlantis and the heroes, so Aquaman finally decided to release the Kraken so that it would draw out Godzilla, which would give the heroes enough time to save Atlantis and its dome. Like they expected, the Kraken engaged Godzilla and Tiamat, so it was basically a three-way fight between the three ultra-huge monstrosities. First, Godzilla was going after Tiamat, who was going after the Kraken, who was going after Godzilla, making a complete circle, if you will. Since Kraken was forcing Godzilla into the abyss, Green Lantern found Tiamat alone and used his ring to bind the creature in a giant green net. But that could not hold Tiamat for long, and to make it worse, Kraken knocked down Godzilla, but on the Dome of Atlantis, and the impact cracked the dome. However, Flash found the beacon, and that initially brought the Titans to Atlantis, and as he escaped from there, Tiamat followed him. On the other hand, since the Kraken managed to temporarily overpower Big G, Superman used a chain made from the nth metal to incapacitate Godzilla, at least for now. What's Ra's al Ghul's League of Assassins want from a Skullcrawler's skull? So, Green Arrow was in the South Pacific Ocean. Actually, he was previously in Skull Island to look for Kong, but then noticed a mysterious ship which turned out to be the property of Mr. Ra's al Ghul. Although this was usually Batman's problem, Green Arrow had to intervene because the situation was dire and he could not wait for Batman to arrive. So he sneaks aboard the ship and finds a Skullcrawler skull on board. This is exactly what Alan Jonah did at the end of Godzilla vs. Kong. If you remember, in the post-credits scene, Jonah and his forces purchased Ghidorah's previously severed left head in Mexico. So it is quite possible that the League of Assassins was also trying to launch its own brand of terrorism. I mean, they could dip the skull in the Lazarus pit to bring it to life. Unfortunately for Green Arrow, he gets noticed by the assassins and has to bail because of being heavily outnumbered. No one pursued Green Arrow because they had more important things to do. You see, the Skullcrawler was brought to the mountainous lair of Ra's al Ghul, where they planned to drop it into the Lazarus pit. This should be interesting. A zombie Skullcrawler, or at least a reanimated one. Mission Mechagodzilla Lexecuted. Gorilla Grodd comes with his gorilla army to sway King Kong to his side by offering a bit of primitive submission. But Supergirl intervened, telling him that Kong was a good guy and would not fall for such stuff. However, Grodd mind controls Supergirl and forces her to attack Kong, which obviously pisses Kong off. Meanwhile, we learn that the Bat family was working on a secret device that might just turn the tide in the favor of the heroes. Shazam had been missing for quite some time. You see, he had gone AWOL because he held himself responsible for what happened to Superman at the end of the first issue. So he decided to face off the Legion of Doom alone, despite being told by Batman and Cyborg to stand down. But Shazam wasn't having any of it and went into battle with the Legion. As was expected, he got beaten down in no time as Giganta struck Shazam. But the craziest thing that happened in this issue was Lex Luthor bringing the Mechagodzilla to life. Marvelous verdict. Justice League vs. Godzilla vs. Kong, Issue 5, is the ultimate crossover event that takes the concept of team-ups to epic proportions. We have all the heavy hitters, the Justice League, Godzilla, and Kong, thrown into a mix that's more explosive than a night out in Gotham. This isn't just about throwing punches and tail swipes, it's a deep dive into what makes these characters tick, pushing them beyond their comfort zones and into the wild unknown. As the smoke clears from their colossal fight, it's not just about who hit the hardest or who roared the loudest. This saga is a journey through the heart of heroism, where old friendships are put to the test and new alliances are forged in the heat of battle. The real takeaway is when the chips are down and Earth's on the line, it doesn't matter if you're wearing a cape, have scales, or sport a mean right hook. Standing together is the only way to turn the tide against darkness. By the end, Justice League vs. Godzilla vs. Kong Issue 5 isn't just a smash fest. It's a thoughtful exploration of unity, courage, and the blurry line between heroes and monsters. It's a reminder that in the darkest times, coming together as one can light up the path forward, setting the stage for a future where anyone, hero or monster, can make a difference. We will be right on top of the 6th issue as and when it releases, so I suggest you stick around with us. Let us know what you think in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you guys in the next one.